Are you actually on the right path to financial freedom? You know, a path that makes sense for you? Today, we're going to examine a really detailed roadmap for getting there, a complete strategy for financial independence, all broken down into 3 distinct stages and 13 very precise steps.
So what are we doing in this first explainer? The whole point here is to really get to the heart of the why, to understand the origin story, the core philosophy, and, maybe most importantly, the systems engineering logic that holds this entire Golden Path strategy together.
Picture this. You've worked hard for years, maybe even decades. You've done everything you were supposed to do. But there's still that nagging feeling, right? That feeling that just one crisis, one layoff, one bad decision could bring the whole thing crashing down. You know you're smart, you're responsible, so why does money still feel like something that just happens to you instead of something that actually works for you?
The entire strategy we're examining today, these 3 stages and 13 steps, was developed by Tamir Kaham. He's a systems engineer and also the creator of the YouTube channel The Golden Path of Financial Independence. What really makes his approach different is how he merges modern systems engineering with the timeless financial wisdom from the richest man in Babylon. So this isn't just some abstract theory, it's a very personal solution that came from a real-world methodical search for a path that could actually balance family stability with future freedom.
So how did this whole strategy even come to be? Well, it wasn't some flash of inspiration or a sudden epiphany. It was a methodical, analytical search for a solution to a personal problem. It was an engineer's search for a financial system that had the right fit for the very real constraints of a family and a career.
Okay, and this slide? This is absolutely critical to understand from the get-go. Financial independence is not the same thing as wealth. Financial independence is a technical state. It's the point where your passive income covers your living expenses. That's the first goal, and it's achievable. Wealth, on the other hand, which is accumulating capital far beyond what you need, that comes after you've already locked in your independence.
And this whole analysis was grounded in reality. It wasn't some hypothetical exercise. The starting point was that of a 45-year-old senior systems engineer, a salaried professional with a family. The stakes were incredibly high, so any path he looked at had to be evaluated through a lens of stability and control, not just big potential returns.
So he began a systematic analysis of the 3 most common financial paths people take. And it's really important to understand this wasn't about judging them as right or wrong. It was an engineering analysis to find the right fit for his specific life conditions. And that feasibility study really focused on 3 main models. You've got the slow track of traditional retirement, the fast track of high-risk entrepreneurship, and of course, the fire track, which is all about extreme saving.
So looking at the first one, the slow track, from an engineering perspective, it had some pretty serious design flaws. It's a fragile system where you have almost no control. It lacks velocity. You are basically a passenger in someone else's car, just hoping they get you to the right destination eventually. You're not the driver.
Then you have the complete opposite, the fast track of entrepreneurship. Now, it can obviously lead to massive success, but it's a high-wire act. It demands a really high tolerance for chaos and an appetite for risk. For an engineer who values stability above all else, the idea of betting his family's entire financial future on a venture with such a high chance of failure, well, it was just a poor fit.
And that brings us to the third path, the fire movement. On paper, it's very appealing to an engineer. It's basically a math problem you can solve. But the architect found a fatal flaw in the system, the human cost. Yes, the math works, but the lifestyle of extreme compression, of depriving yourself for 10 or 15 years, he concluded that it was psychologically unsustainable. The prize just wasn't worth that price.
So here was the dilemma. The slow track was too fragile, the fast track was way too risky, and the fire track was just too miserable. From an engineering point of view, if no existing system meets the specifications you need, the solution is obvious. You have to build a new one. And that was the real turning point.
And the name The Golden Path was itself engineered with 3 very intentional layers. First, gold represents stability. It's meant as a financial anchor, not a way to speculate. Second, it's a direct nod to Aristotle's golden mean, that classic philosophical idea of finding a balanced middle way between 2 extremes. And third, it's a tribute to the ancient financial wisdom in the book The Richest Man in Babylon. And all of this leads to a core pillar of the system's entire architecture, what he calls the anti-deprivation principle. It's a design constraint, really. It's there to make sure the system protects your quality of life right now, in the present, while you systematically build the assets you need for freedom in the future. It's not about choosing one over the other. It's about engineering a system that can achieve both at the same time.
It's so important to get this next point. This is not a collection of tips. It's not a financial buffet where you can pick and choose what you like. It is architecture. It's a fully integrated system where every single piece has a purpose and a place. Think of it as a modern system, a modern machine that's running on timeless, ancient software.
Okay, so now that we've really dug into the why behind the system, the philosophy, let's switch gears and look at the what. Let's take a look at the actual blueprint of the 13 steps.
And this diagram illustrates the architecture perfectly. You see, the 13 steps are organized into 3 sequential stages, and there's a clear dependency. Stage 1 is all about building your psychological foundation. Only then can you move to Stage 2, which is about building financial resilience. Growth, Stage 3, can only happen once that stable base is in place. And notice Step 13, continuous learning. It's not the last step you do. It's the parallel backbone. It's the guidance system for the entire journey.
And to keep the whole system on track, it operates with 4 core principles. You can think of them like guardrails. 1. Independence always comes before wealth. 2. Stability always comes before growth. 3. You build the systems before you even think about trying to scale. And 4. The guiding principle for everything. Quality of life now plus freedom later.
Now, after all of this analysis, we get to the real question. It's not about which path is the best in some absolute sense, but which path is the best fit for you. So this part is designed to be a tool for self-assessment, to help you decide if this strategy actually aligns with your own personal goals and values.
So let's do a quick litmus test. This path is likely for you if you're a salaried employee, you're patient enough for a 10 to 20-year horizon, and your goal is to build lasting intergenerational wealth. On the flip side, it is probably not for you if you're looking to retire next year, if you're perfectly fine with the extreme saving of the FIRE movement, or if you just love high-risk ventures. And that brings up a common question. Can I just pick and choose the steps I like? The answer from the architect is a hard no. You can't treat this like a buffet, because the system's power comes from its dependencies. Skipping a step introduces fragility into a system that was specifically designed for stability.
Before we wrap up, it is absolutely essential to pause for this important disclaimer. This content is strictly for educational purposes. It is not and should not be considered personalized financial advice. There are no guarantees of any results. Your success depends entirely on your own execution, and you are responsible for consulting with qualified professionals to make your own financial decisions.
So, let's bring it all together. What are the key takeaways from all this? First, the golden path is an engineered middle way, designed specifically to sit between the extremes of other financial models. Second, it was built for a specific person, a salaried employee who wants to make the transition to becoming an asset owner. And finally, maybe the most important point of all, your personal fit with a strategy is far more critical than finding some supposedly best path out there.
If this whole approach has you curious and you want to learn more, there are 2 primary resources. For the full Deep Dive series, you can search Deep Dive Golden Path on podcast platforms. Also, definitely visit the YouTube channel, The Golden Path to Financial Independence, at Tamir Goldpath. Seeing the visual diagrams there really helps bring the strategy to life.
At the end of the day, the question is, are you ready to stop being a passenger and start actually engineering your own financial future? The Golden Path might just be the blueprint you've been searching for.